Hello everyone. So today's video about one of my favorite trips ever is going to be about my first cruise. It was also my son Andrew's first cruise, and it was late June, early July of 2001, and it was a 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise on the Disney Magic. And what kind of led to taking this vacation was I was a single mom at the time, and it was just Andrew and I, and he was 4 years old, and I had just finished my first year of teaching, and my contract actually wasn't renewed. And so I was in the process of looking for a new teaching job, but I was paid, my contract paid me through August of 2001. And so I was still getting paid, and so I still had some money, and I decided I had spent basically Andrew's whole life either in school or working, and he had been in daycare that whole time. And so I actually decided that summer I was just going to be home with him. And, while it was summer, I was going to be off work anyway, and we'd never really had that opportunity to just be home together and, all day, every day. And I was going to keep him home with me until I got a new job. And so, I decided that he and I had never really taken, at that point we had never taken a big vacation together, just the two of us. We'd gone places with my dad, but we had never just he and I. And actually, unfortunately, that's the only time that he and I ever took a big vacation, just the two of us. So that makes me a little sad that Andrew and I never got any other opportunity to do something just he and I. But I think when I looked it up, like on the Shipmate app, I think the date of our actual departure was like June 30th. I remember that we were on the ship over the 4th of July, because on the 4th of July, they had all these red, white, and blue balloons up on netting in the ceiling of the main atrium in the ship, and they dropped them on us. And I remember thinking that was really cool. And I think they did like a special 4th of July themed dinner at dinner that night too, with like all American classic food and red, white, and blue desserts and things like that. So it was just me and Andrew, and so he was 4 and I was 27. I was probably still 27 because my birthday's in August, and so I don't think I had turned 28 yet, or I was 28 and hadn't turned 29, one of those. But anyway, we flew down direct from Minneapolis to Orlando. We took Disney's bus service from Orlando International Airport to Port Canaveral, same day. That's the only time I've done that for a Disney cruise. And then we got on the ship, and it was a 7-night Eastern Caribbean, and we had and I've talked about this, I think, in one of my other cruise videos, in like all my cruises videos, I think. We had a ocean view cabin on deck 2. So we didn't have a balcony, but we had a big porthole window. And the porthole window was so big that Andrew could actually like stand up in it, and he wasn't as tall as the porthole window was. And it was, Disney staterooms are very nice. We had plenty of space. I didn't have any noise issues on deck 2. It was actually really quiet down there. And then our itinerary was, I'm not remembering the order exactly. Our itinerary was, I know we went to Nassau, we went to Castaway Cay, we went to St. Martin, and we went to St. Thomas. But I'm not sure of the order. And then we also had 3 sea days. Yeah, 3. And as best I can remember, in St. Martin, we went to the butterfly farm and like a tour on a bus. And I remember one thing that was kind of neat. I remember we got off, the bus took us to Marigot on the French side, and they let us off so we could do some shopping. And actually, one of the things that I got there, I bought this at this little market on the French side of St. Martin on that trip, and it's actual sand and shells and a seahorse There's a seahorse in there. That divers, local divers from the French side of St. Martin had dived down and gotten out of the water. And I bought this on that trip at this little like waterfront market. And while I was shopping, this is kind of a cool memory. While I was shopping and when I bought this, Andrew was over on this little like bandstand thing, and he was with this little black girl. She was a local and she was French speaking, and it was just the cutest thing because at that time Andrew did not yet speak any French, but this little girl didn't speak any English. But it was so cute. She had some toys and they were still playing together and somehow able to communicate with each other enough to play together. And I remember I took a picture of them because they were just so sweet together. These two little 4-year-old kids, I mean, I'm guessing she was about the same size, and you know, just enjoying each other's company even though they couldn't understand each other's language. And I thought that was really sweet. And then in St. Thomas, we did like a driving tour too. And they would make stops and we would stop for like photo opportunities and things. And in Nassau, boy, I don't remember what we did. And on Castaway Cay, I remember we went on the bikes and poof, I don't know. I don't remember so much what we did on the ports of call, but I loved the ship and I had a great time. It was a really fun vacation for me and very easy for me as a single mom to be able to do this cruise. Andrew went to the kids clubs quite a bit and he really enjoyed them. There was one counselor in there that he really, really liked. And the only time they gave you a pager so that if your child needed you, you could come back and pick them up. And the only time he paged me was one time when he was tired and he wanted to go back to the stateroom to take a nap. And I was able to go to like the spa and educational workshops and like talks by the officers and stuff. And I took like a backstage tour in the theater and things like that he wouldn't have been interested in. And while he was in the kids club. And we were seated at dinner on our dining rotation with 2 other couples who had 1 young child each. I don't remember their names. I remember one family had a little boy and one family had a little girl. So there were 2 little boys and this little girl, and then their parents and me. And we all enjoyed each other's company and chatting every night at dinner. At that time it was still, what was it called? The Caribbean themed restaurant on the Magic. I can't remember it. And we had a character breakfast in there one day, I remember too. And then it was still, shoot, I can't think of the names of anything. We're at Animator's Palette, but the old way it was. And then the third one was, you know, the one that's like Castle-y and Princess-y. I can't think of what it's called on the Magic. So, we just really enjoyed the whole experience of being on the Disney ship. Really fell in love with cruising and with Disney Cruise Line specifically. And I just really enjoyed it because it was a very manageable vacation for me to do with my son by myself. And, you know, pretty all-inclusive. Wasn't really any place for him to go to get away from me. We both liked being on the ocean, really enjoyed the ship facilities, liked the shows. The kids clubs were great for Andrew. You know, we just really had a very good time. And I remember liking it so much that it was pretty soon after that then I met my husband, got married, and had Megan all pretty close together. And as quickly as possible, we went on that next Disney cruise on the Disney Wonder only 3 years later. Yeah, a little over 3 years later. So that was one of my favorite trips ever. It gave me a sense of accomplishment as a mom on my own, as a single mom, that I could do a big vacation like this with my child. We just both had a really great time. Our service staff was excellent. We liked our room. We liked everything about the experience. I had no complaints at all. It was really fun. I guess the only one I can remember is I remember feeling like they kind of tried to upsell you and push products on you when I went to the spa I did like a seaweed wrap and a massage thing. And I learned my lesson. I'm like, just don't fall for their sales pitch. But yeah, so that was another one of my favorite trips ever, was that my first cruise. And I had been wanting to go on a cruise for a long time, and that was the first opportunity that I got, because I think it was just something that just never interested my dad, or he didn't want to do it, and so it really had to be out on my own and me planning the trip myself before I could have the opportunity to go on a cruise. Didn't have any other adult to go with me, I guess. So that was another one of my favorite trips ever, and I highly recommend Disney Cruises for anybody who's interested in going on a cruise. Check out my Disney versus Royal Caribbean video for some more insight into that. And thanks again, guys, for watching, and I will see you next week for another one of my favorite trips ever. Safe travels!